It's 7:09 p.m. I'd like to call the July 18th session of the City of Delaware Planning Commission to order. Could the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Badger?
Here.
Mr. Halter?
Here.
Mr. Prahl?
Here.
Mr. Volnick? Mayor Riggle?
Here.
Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Here.
Chairman Simpson?
Here. Do I have a motion to excuse?
Motion to excuse the meeting.
Motion by Mr. Badger,
Second.
second by Mr. Prahl.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prahl?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle? Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. Moving on to the next item on regular business. Approval of the motion summary of the Planning Commission meeting held on June 6th, 2018, as recorded and transcribed. What's the wish of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mayor Riggle,
Second.
second by Mr. Halter.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prahl?
Abstain.
Mayor Riggle? Yes. Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. Moving on to item number 3, regular business. Could the clerk please read item A into the record?
Item A, 2018-1389, a request by Stavros Land and Development, Inc. for approval of a final subdivision plat for Belmont Place, Section 5, consisting of 38 single-family lots on approximately 11.083 acres zoned R3 PMU, one family residential with a planned mixed-use overlay district, and located on McNamara Loop in Neville Lane.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, this is Belmont, the last section of Belmont. There was 4 sections prior to this. In 2013, City Council approved the preliminary and plan and plat for the subdivision, and since then they've built sections 1 through 4. This is the northwest section, Section 5, the last section to be constructed out here. And it encompasses 38 single-family lots on the remaining acreage. You can see in the yellow is what's been constructed, and then in the green is what is to be constructed, or what's in front of us tonight. Engineering is reviewing their plans as we speak. The roads and access to the site, McNamara Loop will be extended north and east from Brett's Lane, and Neville Lane will be extended north to form the road network for Section 5. The layout's pretty straightforward, as you can see. Development text required the lots to be 8,125 square feet minimum, 65-foot wide lots. The minimum house size was 1,500 square feet in this subdivision, and the corner lots are oversized by 30% per code requirements. The design of the houses would have to meet our Chapter 1117 requirements and also additional requirements per PMU text. 50% of the front elevation would have to be natural materials, upgraded garages, and you can't have a blank elevation. There needs to be a window or the light on each elevation. The open space and park plan. In this section, there's some open space along the western portion of the site. It's actually a buffer to the property to the west, which is owned by the applicant. When it develops, likely going to need a buffer, and some mounding, about 2 to 3 foot high mounding would be required with the appropriate trees in that area, and that would be extended from to the south. There's also that same buffering adjacent to Crown Over Road in that area. And the Shade Tree Commission approved this street tree plan last year when this came in for Section 4. Also, the lighting plan was approved last year for this section of the subdivision. Pedestrian connectivity, there would be sidewalks on all the streets. There is a bike path extension along Peach Blow Road in front of this development when it was originally approved. Staff recommends approval with 9 conditions. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
With this final 38, what would be the total build down about? Do you know offhand?
Oh, I believe it's
Kevin McCauley from Stavros Interest, Stavros Land Development, developer and owner of the ground. 146 lots total in the total 5 sections.
Could you provide your address too for the record?
6689 Dublin Center Drive, Dublin, Ohio, 43017. can answer any other questions as well. I didn't come really prepared to give a presentation, but Lance did a pretty good job there covering us. Since we're just at a final development plan,
Okay.
final plat, I guess.
Any questions for staff or the applicant?
When did the residential TIF go onto this district? Do you know?
It was a
Before it was constructed.
Okay.
I'm sure this was in the district.
Yeah, this was at the time of the zoning, back at maybe 2005. It was quite some time ago. So the
Okay.
TIF was put in place prior to us even starting phase one.
This development occurred after the recession in 13. Established.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant? You're good with all of staff's recommendations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That was on the original plat as well, so
Okay.
everything's good.
All right, seeing no more questions, thank you very much.
Okay.
At this time, if there's any member of the public who wishes to speak on this case, please feel free to come forward. Okay. Seeing none, I will bring this back to the commission. What's the wish of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve 2018-1389 with all staff recommendations.
Motion by Mr. Kroll,
Second.
second by Mr. Halter.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle? Yes. Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. Thank you and good luck.
Do we come back here again, or now does this go to council?
This goes to council Monday.
Goes Monday already?
For
So-
first read.
First read.
First reading?
Mhm.
Okay. And then it's going to be 3 readings total?
Yes.
Maybe? Okay.
I get the sense you're parallel pathing on this, right?
Absolutely. Just trying, yeah. I want to be sure I have a representative here as well. So Monday will actually be partial testimony as well, or questions, or is it just a
It'll
reading?
be a first reading,
Okay.
so come to the second one.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just look.
All right, item B under regular business. Could the clerk please read that into the record?
Item B, the Marathon Gas Station, Case 1, 2018-1462. A request by NNG Takar Oil LLC for approval of a conditional use permit for renovation and expansion of the Marathon Gas Station at 473 South Sandusky Street on approximately 0.80 acres on property zone B3 Community Business District. Case 2, 2018-1718, a request by NNG Takar Oil LLC for approval of a development plan exemption for renovation and expansion of the Marathon Gas Station, former Swifty Gas Station at 473 South Sandusky Street on approximately 0.80 acres on property zone B3 Community Business District.
Yeah, I just want to mention, this site has been a health, safety, and pretty much a nuisance to the city for several years. So, you know, from our perspective, we're happy that the owner purchased this and is going to redevelop it. It's needed badly. The site is zone B3, where the current gas, or the former gas station was, which has been vacated or been abandoned. The new owner purchased this in 2014 and is going to renovate it now. Then the new plan would have the same access from South Sandusky Street, and the same access from the private drive that extends into VFW there. So that pretty much everything would remain as is from an access perspective on this site. The gas station would have, the new site plan would have 4 gas pumps out front. They removed the 2 out there, not 4 new ones. The building, they would remove the building about 500 square feet now, and they'd expand it to 3,800 square feet and move it to the south eastern portion of the site. So they're pretty much using the same layout from an access perspective, the same pavement out there, so they're not adding any more pavement to the site, impervious surface. There would be a dumpster on the site. The owner indicated they'd have a dumpster, but they didn't locate it on this plan. It would need to be enclosed by brick wall and per our typical requirements. And also, any outside merchandise would require to be on the north or south side of the building with a low wall to buffer from South Sandusky Street. That's a typical requirement of the previous gas stations that we approved in the city. No trees would be removed with the layout. Landscaping, they would be installing street trees along South Sandusky Street, along their frontage. Signage, they'd have canopy signage on 3 sides of the canopy, and also the ground sign that's located on the southwest portion of the site, which is a current pole sign. They've converted to a ground sign, maximum 8 foot tall, 40 square feet of sign area with a limestone sign base would be required per our code. They're not identifying any new lighting, but the existing lighting would have to meet our foot candle standards that we have today. So they'd have to identify that the lighting would comply with today's standards. The elevation itself, as I said, there would be a canopy with a pitched roof that they're proposing. There'd be 4 gas pumps. The columns on the gas pumps would be limestone from the ground to the top of the canopy per our typical requirements. The new building would be majority brick with some limestone accents around the entrance door. They also indicate there could be some along the water table on the building. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use with 3 conditions and the development plan exemption with 14 conditions. These redevelopment sites, we try to bring them up to today's standards, but there's just some items with existing buildings and the site itself, it's difficult to bring it to full standards, but we think we brought this one up close enough that we think is acceptable from staff's perspective. And obviously an upgrade to what's out there today.
So Lance, for the benefit of everybody on the commission, so we have a new set of renderings in front of us tonight.
I'm sorry, yeah, the renderings that were in the packet showed a dive-in 4 gas pumps. The new plan has it. The site plan, they're parallel. They gave us a new site plan, which is on the screen here, where the gas pumps will be parallel to the building in South Sandusky Street.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, so instead of a perpendicular approach to the pump, it'll be
Right.
parallel with the street.
Correct.
Thus easier to navigate.
Correct.
You pretty well covered the merchandise outside, but you did not necessarily say they couldn't do mulch later on.
That's the intent. Outside merchandise is.
Yeah, so it'll all have to be inside that fence. They can't put mulch
Correct.
stacked out like some of the others do.
That's the intent of that condition. Correct.
And also, I think on a few of them, we only allow them to cover so much of the windows. I know even the new station up there on London Road, you know, you got every advertisement in the window you can put in,
Right. Our code
covering every
requires,
bit of glass.
I think our code requires either 30 or 50% maximum window with temporary signage. So they'd have to meet those requirements also.
So Lance, you talked about that they are almost there in meeting our current standards. Where are they falling short?
Well, some of the access, in the perfect world, you'd have access would probably be more limited to the site. You'd have more landscaping around the parking and the like. So
What they depict there on that lower right-hand corner with all that nice green grass area, that probably won't happen, right?
Well, the site plan is, it's all paved up to the building. Behind the building, it's landscaped, so yes.
Okay.
And there's a wall on the property line between this site and the site to the south, which they may or may not upgrade, determining
Mhm.
whose wall it is and the condition of the wall is what I understand from the applicant.
Can you tell me again about the monument sign? It's going to be 8 foot tall or 8 foot long?
Maximum 8 foot tall.
Where's it going to sit?
It's going to go in the southwest corner of the building where existing pole sign is.
Okay.
Has to be outside the site triangle. The engineer will review it for site distance and the like. And that's going to be a benefit to the site also. They're bringing that up to standard.
Is this a full tear out, full tear down on the building?
I defer to the applicant on exactly how they're going to approach that.
And then one of the conditions, you just talked about the no overnight parking, but you didn't mention that there's going to be no overnight parking signage. Just that there's no.
Right. They would require
The
signage to code. You have to have the signage that
Okay.
meets
Or some type of.
our zoning code.
Okay.
So is this place going to be open 24 hours?
No.
Why don't we go ahead and have the applicant come to the podium, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matthew Geddes. My address is 1900 First Avenue, Middletown, Ohio. It will not be 24 hours.
What would the hours be, do you think?
I mean, I think they would be based on demand, but that neighborhood area kind of dies down around 10 o'clock, so probably not too much after that. Maybe 11 on the weekends.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Do you have other gas stations as well, service stations?
Indeed. In fact, there's one right on US 23, not far from there, that's currently under development. It's in Delaware County, though.
Is that the one north on 23?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The one that used to have the huge hill. I mean, there's these properties. This is not our second one either. I mean, there's two others in development in Columbus and some in Cincinnati and Dayton. I mean, all over the place. So we have a history of successfully completing these projects with the owner.
So do you own it yourself?
No.
Okay.
Emergy owns it.
Okay. Did you own it when it was Philip or whatever the last one was?
No, we don't know. No, we don't run that way.
And you do not own the Clark station, correct?
No.
Okay.
Even I tried to buy it, but he don't want to sell. I tried to, because city told me if I can buy it, I can make it car, something planned out, but he don't sell it. I offered him, buy it. Because I want him to be gone too, because I want to look nice.
Sure. Can I just get your name and address for the record?
Amarjit Thakkar, 4301, Willow Creek Circle, Delbrook High.
You plan on selling beer and wine there too?
Yes.
So full service then?
And with the building that's there, is this going to be a complete tear down of that building and a rebuild? I can't imagine.
Yes and no. I mean, there's an existing fuel system that's in place as far as like the electrical components to that system.
Right.
And a lot of that will be salvaged just because it's in good working order. But as far as the actual building itself, yes, the walls and the roof and everything will be coming down.
Scrape and rebuild.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, why isn't like a preliminary plan versus the development plan exemption?
Well-
Where are you drawing the line at? 'Cause I mean, there's no way you can save that building. That building's going to have to get.
Right. Well, the conditional use is required for the gas station in the B3 district. We looked at the history, couldn't find a conditional use on it. The reason we didn't go final development plan is they're not changing the site work. They're minor site work changes, so they didn't really need the full engineering review. They're actually doing some engineering, but not significant. We wanted to work with the applicant to move this forward because it's, the condition of the gas station. We've been working on this several months now to get to this point. And this is similar to a few other approvals we've done in the last 5 or 6 years on these type of redevelopments. It evolved. Initially, they weren't going to touch the building. Then they found out that their marketing or their business required that the building become that. So it evolved.
So engineering is requiring a retention pond be put in on the east side?
It's basically a bioretention cell or a rain garden sort of system, and that is just to meet Ohio EPA and our own code requirement for redevelopments to do a fraction of the typically required water.
And will that have any effect on the neighbors to the east then?
No. Has a good discharge point there and the existing drainage course that it'll go to.
And as noted, we haven't increased the total impervious square footage.
Right.
What we're removing is concrete right now. So.
Yeah, it's essentially the exact same footprint of pavement and so forth.
It's going to be a nice looking building.
So the access to that, to the lane, whatever that parking lane is that goes back to like.
Private drive.
Yeah. Back, I think that's a VFW or the.
Correct.
Yeah, to that. I mean, there's current access out of that, off that site now. Is there going to be access off the
Yes.
site back onto that? I mean, it's only barely a one-car lane. So is there a way to not have access? If we're going to have the typical two exits from Sandusky, what are you going to do with that portion of it? You know what I mean? I mean, to avoid cars going out there or trucks, because you can barely make a left-hand turn if you got a truck of any size type of thing.
This situation out here isn't ideal, however.
No, definitely not.
Years ago. They do have vested rights with current access. So, working with them, we thought it was important to, try to get the building and canopy upgraded and leave the access per the city engineer as is. And, if you're at the VFW and you want to get gas, you don't have to come back out on South Sandusky to go south. I mean,
Yes, of course.
I mean, it's not ideal, but I guess it works today.
It would be much easier for the fire trucks to get in there
Yeah.
too, if that potential ever came across. I mean, that is the widest access for not just the fire department, who had mentioned using that, but also the tanker truck that refuels the site. It would be much easier in and out if we were allowed to use that instead of just squeezing into the smaller ones that already exist and fight that traffic, in my opinion.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant?
And one more. So the fueling truck comes in, let's say on the north part of it, and fuels up or, leaves the gas. Will they be able to go around the building in the back site?
No, because it's grass in the back of the building now. The back of the building is where engineering requested that we put the retention, the overflow.
So it's
But part of our engineering review, we did drive one of those CAD fire trucks and tanker trucks around there to prove the pathways for those vehicles.
They did an auto turn simulation. They didn't get our fire truck in and out.
We actually got the cab file of your fire truck. They sent us and drove it around the plan there, so it does function properly.
What's going to happen? The building is going to be in this area. So behind the building will be grass.
Is there any kind of a buffer that's going to be required between the new business and the VFW?
They're both commercial uses, and there's
Okay.
some trees there now, and a lot of green grass. So
What is your anticipated construction completion on this? When are you hoping to be open?
We can start within, 4 to 6 weeks of plan approval. I mean, once we have a full set of building permits.
And it looks like your drawings are pretty well developed, so I assume you're parallel pathing right now, probably going through the approvals process from,
We are working with the building department and I have submitted our second round of review to them, so I feel like we're really close. And we received an email from the engineering department this morning talking about their final bullet point 14, I believe it was.
and.
All of which we agree with, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
From a design standpoint, are they using enough of the blue vein limestone? I just feel like I usually see more on gas stations. I mean, if they're fine, they're fine.
yeah, we'd like to work with them to see if we can get a water table of the blue vein. But the
I'm
fact
just
that
used to seeing that here in the
Right.
city, it's
Right.
like a wainscot.
wainscoting.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then the only other thing that really jumped out to me was the pitched roof that you have over the gas canopy
Mhm.
is quite large.
Would you
I
like to
know-
cut that?
I don't know what anybody else on the commission thinks or if they have an opinion, but I feel like that roof on top of that canopy is massive. It's
From the
just,
rendering, it
This
looks,
picture, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just looks so big.
I think that front drawing's unfair just because of perspective. Like it almost looks like a hat on a hat, but,
yeah.
and we would actually prefer just to have like a 4-foot section of that, which you see in a lot of places. It was my interpretation from reading through it, and maybe I'm wrong, that I thought we had to have the PT.
Staff recommended a pitched roof.
But it doesn't have to be that
it doesn't need to be that pitch. In a mansard roof or other option with a lower pitch would be acceptable too.
Okay.
And you're right, the canopies are large to get trucks under. I think when we did the
Yeah, yeah.
speedway out at Troy Road, we found out they're just large.
Yeah.
And
It just
On
feels
small
really
sites.
tall.
We would prefer, I'm sorry, Lena. We would prefer to cut it to like 6 feet, which gives you the same look without the whole top on it.
And I think that would be within what the intent of what
Right.
we're trying to achieve
absolutely
is.
it would be.
It would make it look smaller and we would
Right.
still have that mansard look.
You have to cover the microphone.
Well, how does this compare to what you're doing out there on 23 North?
How does it compare?
Yeah,
The buildings are
canopy-
extremely similar
Okay,
without the mansard roof.
okay.
I have
Because of-
another property, excuse me, I have another property in Dearborn. They made us to like just look like a, not cover on the top, like they put the singles on the, like looking like a house. And not completely make a roof like, patching on the top. So when you drive and you look like a house, not like a completely going up.
That's
That's the
exactly
what
what
they
It
did.
sounds like he's talking about a mansard type of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what they make me to do it over there in Dearborn.
And I understand the intent. I just think I would consider reducing the height of that.
I agree with you because to me it looks funny. We're just trying to comply fully.
Well, I'll let you guys kind of work out what
We'll
you feel
work
is
through those
appropriate.
details based on, if you're fine with us.
I like the direction this is going. Smaller roof.
I mean, I don't know what anyone else thinks. It's just that when
Yeah,
I first
agree.
opened my
It's a
packet,
small site
I was like,
in a
wow.
small area. I mean, otherwise it's just,
And normally I don't comment on design things because I feel like, you're the property owner, you can design whatever you want. But in this particular instance, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. and I agree with you for whatever that's worth. And to get back to the water table stone, we're happy to do that. I mean, we really want the building to fit in. I mean, that really is
Sure.
kind of like the hallmark. You drive through Delaware, you see that stone. Like even to the point where I drive other areas now and I'm like, that building looks like it could fit in Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and I think the part of town that you're building this in, I think, it's a great opportunity to set a nice precedent in that area. I think that area's got a really good future ahead of it. And I think you're going to make a good first splash in that.
that's great. That's what we look forward to.
Okay. Anything else for staff or the applicant? All right, thank you.
Go sit down. Yeah.
We already said him, but. Are there any members of the public here this evening that would like to comment on this particular case? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. It's the wish of the commission.
I'll move to approve item 2018-1462 with staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Badger, second by Mayor Riggle.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prohl?
yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes.
Now I'll move to approve item 2018-1718 with all staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Badger, second by Mayor Riggle.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prohl?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Lance.
Yes, no problem.
Moving on to item number 4 on tonight's agenda, Planning Director's Report.
Yeah, I got one comment. The steering committee for the comprehensive plan, we met on Monday to kick that process off. So I just wanted to let you be aware that's moving forward. And if you see any articles in the paper, any communication, initiate that process. It's about a 15 to 18 month process.
How's August shaping up?
2 weeks from now, right now, we have 4 cases. We got rezoning on 521 for 3 existing lots that are in the township that's being annexed into the city, and they just want to build 3 houses on the site on the single-family lots today. They essentially need utilities. That's why they're doing that. We got a rezoning across from Coles and east of Aldi's. There's a large apartment complex. That rezoning and preliminary development plan for that. Also, we have the same applicants bringing in a rezoning for apartment complex just west of Village Gate. Also, so we have 3 rezonings, 2 of them apartments. Then we have the Glen Ross North sections 2 through 4 subdivision final plats for that. That would be the build out of Glen Ross North subdivision.
Okay.
So,
So
pretty
modest
full
agenda. Modest agenda.
It's early.
It is early. When's the cutoff for that?
it was about a month ago.
Not nothing.
There's
We'll
one
get-
item
we'll
that
get-
might be trickling in that we've been communicating with them on. I'm not
Okay.
sure yet.
Okay. That it?
That's it.
Excellent. Item number 5, commission member comments and discussion.
I have nothing.
Dean?
I guess I have two things. The first one on Cheshire Road, on the south side, there's that emergency access road going into the Cheshire South Development.
Correct.
In the planning, there's supposed to be some type of barrier, balustrade, whatever you come up with type of thing.
Okay.
And do you have an idea as far as when that'll occur? Because if you notice when you go out there, it's such a large area, guess what's happening? That's where the construction guys are driving their cars through type of thing. Instead of driving the next, couple hundred yards up to the roundabout, coming in through even though there's signs there, we get it, there's signs up that say, don't do this, don't do that. There's plenty of usage of it.
I'll go back through the notes of the case and the conditions and
Okay.
determine what needs to be done, and we'll discuss that with our engineers and with the contractors out there.
Say, yeah, every morning you see, a car or two kind of,
I was out there today.
did you?
I can
Like
see.
zipping on down it,
Nobody follows the rules.
Of course not. And I guess the second one is, since we just had the potential for a marathon, the property next to it, the marathon station here
Mhm.
on Sandusky, since we just had them, what's the property right next to it?
South of the marathon.
No, just
No, there's
north of it.
There's a plot of land there that's
Yeah.
for sale right now that says.
It used to be a veterinarian place, it's a popcorn place.
Before that.
And the Washington, was it
Yeah, I'm
It's
trying
the,
to,
wood- yeah, the
Washington,
Washington. Yeah.
several years ago, before I was here, they had a strip center
Right.
approved for that, and I think the recession
That's
got that too, and that's died. Actually, the person for Napa, I think, owns some of that. He expanded to Napa a few years ago, and that's where he's going to put a new Napa.
It just still has the big sign there that says, coming soon, or I don't know what it says, to be
The
honest.
economy gets better,
Something
they
about-
might revisit that project.
of course, that sign's half obscured by,
Oh, yeah,
overgrown
on the
foliage.
road. So, is there a way to get that cleaned up, that sign down, get it changed, or, movement on it? I mean, if we're gonna truly start to build that little area up, and he's gonna sink quite a bit of money into that little spot, kind of getting them to clean up.
We'll address it.
Sure, but-
That's it. That's it?
Yeah.
George?
Nothing tonight?
I just want to apologize for having to start late.
No, it's okay.
All good for me.
The only thing I have left, at the last meeting I brought up about that service station repair over on East William Street. They were supposed to be some landscaping done
Leon's Garage?
and nothing,
Garage
Nothing.
26.
huh?
It's Garage 26.
Yeah, Garage
Yeah.
26 in there. When I went back and looked at the conditions, the green grass that you saw met the conditions for landscaping. You just see that there were no trees or anything.
Well, I would love to see that drawing again because I guarantee you there was a lot more than that. There was supposed to be some on the
on the
east side.
Yep. And it was,
Then that thing got changed after we approved it.
Yeah, I remember specifically.
Yeah, there was a lot there and they weren't gonna do it, because they were just getting started up and the finance was a little slow. There's no way that that's what we approved.
wow.
Okay.
Reading the council ordinance, it was just grass. There was
Somebody changed it.
there was-
I'm gonna tell you that right now. Somebody changed that and somebody ought to find out how that happened. Because that, when we approve something and it goes to council from our approval, unless they change it to council, which I don't think they did, okay, something's happened.
I'll revisit that too, but
I recall also the lot was supposed to be paved after a period of time.
Yeah, that's right. All this is supposed to be done to clean it up. I just don't, maybe something happened, but whatever it is, it just seems like, we approve something and then it gets changed. And I just don't believe, you know, you weren't council.
I'll
I don't
revisit
believe-
I don't remember.
You don't remember? I don't believe council changed it.
I'll revisit. I just remember after you had that comment a few months ago, I
Yeah.
looked at the conditions and the
There was a
landscaping.
lot of, a lot was supposed to be paved, and there was supposed to be
The lot-
landscaping in the front and some trees and down the side, you know. And we let it go because they were getting started, but we
Right.
said, this is the time limit to do it.
I think you gave it 18 months to do it.
I don't remember the exact, you may be right.
No, it
months.
was more like a year and a half.
Yeah.
They needed to get the building cleaned up, which they did.
Yeah.
The pavement.
And then
Right.
they were to, and I remember the discussion of a couple of trees in the lawn strip
Mhm.
and paving the lot.
Mhm.
The lady that owns the property said, oh, we're willing to do that, but we just need a little time.
Mhm.
About the paving, we talked to the owner, we talked to the people who were leasing it last year. They went out and got bids and it, you know, it didn't match their budget at that time, so.
Well, why should we even allow that in the future then?
Well, I would never again. I mean, if it came in front of us again and they said we needed time, I would tell them that has not worked out well.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of places where we've allowed fences, like there on Houck Road, and they were supposed to put up landscaping, and then the house got sold, and the people bought the house and then found out, we gotta do what? Never again. I mean, that just to me, I said, nope, tear the fence down.
I mean, you try to be nice and understanding and accommodating, and then
There's one in the corner of William Street and Curtis. That house there right in the corner, they put up a fence, there was supposed to be all this landscaping. Zippo! You know, the city needs to really, you know, and I understand when a buyer buys it and, you know, he gets caught with it, but that was what the rule was, you know, so what's the old saying, buyer beware?
But you have to understand that if that is not recorded at the courthouse and the seller doesn't tell the buyer buys that house, how would they know anything about it?
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah. what's it-
You're right. You're absolutely right. But the seller did know.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to, you know, pass that along. I understand what you're saying. It's just that we didn't make the owner do it when they put the fence up. It was supposed to be so high when they planted it. We didn't do it there. We didn't do it on Houck Road either. And then the property got sold and now, you know, nothing's being done. The fences aren't being taken care of and, you know. That's it for me. I'm done fishing.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Next regular meeting, August 1st, 2018. Anybody have any commitment challenges on that day? No? Okay. Bring her in. It'd be fun for her.
Oh, yeah, it's just what you want to do at 14.
It's a good learning experience. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting adjourned at 7:47 PM.
Is that a record?
I
Even
don't
though
think
it's
so.
with the late start, you gotta count that, it's gotta be a record.